Ivy Slater, and you're listening to Her Success Story Podcast, a show where gutsy businesswomen share their success journey. Hello, and welcome to this episode of Her Success Story. Today, we have a great guest. Her name is Dana Mantilia. She's Identity Protection Planning. So let me explain this to you. She's the founder of Identity Protection Planning. It's a company dedicated to helping Americans protect themselves, their families, and their companies against identity theft and cyber crimes. Her company provides a platform for financial advisors, insurance agents, personal advisors, estate planning attorneys, who offer identity theft protection to their clients. Dana was certified through Harvard University in the highlighted cybercrime certification. She can tell us all about it. She also has an Identity Management Institute certified identity protector advisor. She's more than anything a brilliant woman, an ambitious woman, a woman who is committed to make a change around identity theft. This has touched me on a personal level, so it means a lot to get her story out there. As well as she's a mom with 7 kids. Can't wait to hear about that. So Dana, welcome. Thanks for taking the time out of a busy day.
Thank you very much for having me. That was very nice, all those kind words you had to say.
So how in the world did you get involved with identity theft?
Well, just to backtrack a little bit about my history. So my family has had a Ford dealership, and I've worked in that business for my whole entire life. And about, I'd say 5 years ago, I wanted to open up an insurance agency so that we could offer our customers auto insurance and home insurance. And then that developed into, I thought, I really would love to get into this identity theft world and help our clients out with that. And my brother he was applying for just a health savings account, and he got denied. Mm-hmm. And then he said, well, why did I get denied? And nobody could tell him why. So he kept calling around, trying to figure out, and then eventually found out that he was on the terrorist watch list. Yeah, it was crazy. So he had to go through a whole big mess to try to clean up his name and everything. And so that started getting me intrigued about the identity theft aspect of things. So I started doing some research and started getting educated on it. And it's kind of scary because the more educated you get about it, the more of a hot mess you realize it really is out there. So then I teamed up with a technology team in California, and we put together a platform so we could offer identity theft protection to our clients, and then created a B2B platform so that other advisors or anybody who has a client pool that wanted to offer identity theft protection to their clients, they could do so.
So, you kind of got the awakening from your brother trying to open a bank account. And I will tell you, it was a bunch of years ago, probably about 6 years ago. I went into the bank to, get some quick cash, out of the cash machine, to go get a manicure. This was like a big event. And my card got eaten. And I went in and I said, my card got eaten. And they're like, well, give us your name, this, that, and the other thing. And they're like, oh, please follow us. And I got escorted into a back room where I was told that my social security number was compromised and all my accounts were shut down. Now, my son at that time was in college in California, and his account was linked with mine, being his mother. And so, which meant that not only were anything with my name on it was shut down, including him. And that's when I started first learning, and I started hearing about it. And in this conversation that came up with others, people's stories started coming to me. It's like, oh yeah, this happened to me, and oh, this happened. So what, I want to ask you about building the business and all, but I also really want to talk to you about how do we protect ourselves? Because this whole cyberspace is new.
Yeah, it really is. It's a whole new world, and the identity theft protection industry is really in its infancy because it is such a new thing. And there's our information is out there. As much as we want to try to protect it, there are things that we can do, and those are the little tidbits that I do with my videos to try to help people learn how they can protect themselves. One thing that we do suggest is that people freeze their credit, and especially their children's
credit. What does that mean?
You can call, the adults, you can go online and you can freeze your credit. so that if anybody's going to try to inquire about your credit, use your social security number, they won't be able to do that, because the credit bureau will let them know that there's been a credit freeze on this social security number. So until that person can thaw that, that social security number with a code that only they would know, nobody can use that social security number to get any kind of credit.
So hold on. If we freeze our credit in that way, what happens when we want to do anything from, buying a house to using credit cards?
Then you just go online and unfreeze it with your specific code that you have. And then you can go ahead, get a car loan or a mortgage like you were just mentioning. And then when you're done, when that process is complete, then you go back on and you freeze it again.
So you referenced videos. So share with our listeners how you teach so much. What goes on these videos, and how we could know about this.
Well, what's really interesting about these videos, I really wanted to do some videos on LinkedIn. This is about just about a year ago. And I was so intimidated to do it, because I thought, if I do these videos out there, people are going to see me and they're going to say, this lady has an identity theft protection company. So I was very, very intimidated. And I kept going on LinkedIn every day, and I would look at other people's stuff that they were doing. And then I finally said, you know what, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. So I made my video and I put it out there, and I got no likes and no shares and no comments, no nothing, right? But I kept going, and then I kept a few more videos. And over the last year, it's really, really grown into this new little community. And people message me all the time and they say, thank you very much for your little videos. They're very helpful. They're very quick. There's a little bit of humor to them, and they keep their attention. And that's what I really want to do. Is my videos are intended for regular people, not technical people. And what's interesting is, because of my community on LinkedIn has developed into all these cybersecurity people that are really technical. And so they try to have conversations with me, and I have to say to them, listen, I just want you to know, I don't try to fool anyone. I'm not a technical person that's going to be hacking into servers in Iran or anything like that. I just want to talk to regular people. So when they talk to me, I break it down, and then I figure out, how do I say this to a regular person so that they can remember something about a protection little tip here and there. So it's kind of interesting. I think I might have just gone off track a little bit. I don't remember what we were just talking about, but.
So no, I think the videos, and actually, and I'm going to share with our audience, Dana and I met through LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. Because I am on LinkedIn every day in business building mode. And I saw this, and we connected, and I was intrigued because you were a woman. Mm-hmm. So because I'm not a tech person, I know how to business build. I'm not going to be the person who's going to go into somebody's company and tell them how to run their technology department, mm-hmm. right? That's not why they would call me. It's not my sweet spot. So all of a sudden, and having been hit by the importance of having your identity protected, when I noticed it, and I was like, wow, this is a woman I could relate to. I leaned in and said, hey, what do you have to say? Because maybe I could understand you, because I don't understand a lot of the others.
Well, and that's the thing too. I think our natural reaction to things is, as soon as we can't comprehend what the people are saying, or things get too technical or too over our head, we just shut down, and then we just don't pay any attention to it. So that's not good.
Then we're really not protected.
Yeah, exactly. And one thing I really, really try to hone in on too is the child identity, synthetic identity with children's social security numbers, because what happens.
Okay, slow down here, friend.
Okay.
Because this is now you're pulling at my strings. We're both mothers here. So let's talk about this child identity protection, because this is really important information, and it scares the crap out of me as a mom that we have to be thinking this way.
Yes, absolutely. So child identity theft is the fastest growing aspect of identity theft, and identity theft is the fastest growing crime in the United States. So this is a big problem. So people have said to me, well, what can someone do with my child's social security number? They're not 18. But the very important factor here is that the credit bureaus do not know that. So what happens is someone steals a child's real social security number, and they apply for a credit card application with that real social security number, a fake name, and a fake date of birth. off it goes to the credit bureau, and the credit bureau will report back to that credit card company saying, we have no association with this name or social security number or anything. So the credit card company is going to deny that application and say, no, you're rejected. So the identity thief waits a little bit and then goes and does the exact same thing again with that same information. So off it goes to the credit card company, off it goes to the bureau, and the bureau will say, we don't have any credit history associated with this name, social security number, and date of birth, but we do see that there was a credit file started back when that first application went in. So the credit card company is going to say, okay, you know what we'll do? We'll approve a small maximum, like a $300 a month maximum, and boom, off to the races. That social security number is no longer associated with that child. It's associated with this fake name and fake date of birth.
So do you freeze your children's credit as well?
Yes, and that's a different process. That I have the instructions on that I can send you the link to. It's an article that I wrote on LinkedIn. It's also on our website as well. And that you have to contact in writing, the credit bureaus. So the scary part about that happening is that then we fast forward, and most of us are not paying attention to our children's social security numbers because no one is supposed to be using them. Then that poor child, fast forward, then maybe they're applying for a college loan, and that's when it all gets uncovered. And you find out that there's hundreds of thousands of dollars of bad debt associated with this social security number. And that's at that point, if you're waiting for a college application approval for financial aid, there may be a little pause there, and it would be a real shame for a child not to be able to go to college because they have to now clean up this mess before they can get their financing back in order.
So Dana, how did you get involved in all this? Like, share. I know you touched briefly, but let's really go into this a little bit. Like, what drove you didn't just like got interested, but you started building a whole business around it. Like, take us through this journey a little bit more.
Well, I really became passionate about learning about it because I couldn't believe this was happening. And I did not even think about a child's social security number because of that 18 age thing. I thought, well, what good if somebody gets my kid's social security number? It's not that big of a deal. They can't do anything, because I didn't realize what they could do. So I think it was just a matter of my own personal interest. And then, I mean, every time I turn around and talk to somebody, the first thing I'm talking about is this, because I realize there's such a lack of knowledge out there with people. And it's not because people want to be ignorant about this. It's just because, like we said at the beginning of this is new, and we need to, it's a whole new aspect of life we have to start learning about. And, you know, just like we didn't grow up with social media, and our kids are on social media, that's all they know. They don't know what it's like to not have Google. They don't know what it's like to not be connected 24/7. So the identity theft aspect of all this online digital things, it's something new that we all need to deal with. And I try to break it down so that it is something that people can comprehend.
So share a little bit about building the business and that journey. How long have you been around? How long have you been in business, or how long have you been in this journey of building this business? And what has worked and what has been tough for you?
Well, the identity theft aspect of the business is obviously relatively new. So what happened was, when we created the platform for our clients to offer it, then, you know, going up to some of the other agents and financial advisors and the such, and getting them to offer it. One of the challenges that we have had is, I think the advisors themselves that are going to be talking to their clients, they're a little intimidated to talk about it because they're not really 100% comfortable and confident, and they're afraid that their client, you know, that they think they're supposed to know everything, that their client's going to ask them something and they're not going to know the answer to it. So that's a challenge that we're trying to overcome right now. So, but now that we have the identity theft protection product for individuals put together, what we're growing into is working on something for small businesses. And I mean really small, because everybody, you know, all the big corporations, they have teams of IT people that are focused on cleaning up everything and making sure that they're all protected. But the medium businesses and the small businesses in this country really have no cybersecurity protocol in place at all. And the hackers know that. And that's the big target. And I think over the next 3 to 5 years, if people don't put a little bit of a plan together, then they're going to have to be dealing with a bit of a mess. And when I mean plan, again, not the technical side of things, when an IT company comes in, they're going to talk about firewalls and routers and all this stuff that I don't really even understand. What I talk about is the communication plan within the organization. So making sure the kid that's in the back room isn't on Twitter telling everybody and anybody, hey, I think our business was just breached and we got, all of our customer information's all over the place. That's what I'm talking about, is just really having a plan together, making sure your employees are trained, these phishing emails. That's another aspect of how people are contaminating their computers by clicking on innocent looking little emails. So that's where we're growing into. But my passion is with the children and making sure that families are protected. And now just seeing that there's a need for these smaller companies, that's where it's naturally growing.
Right, because these smaller businesses are like smaller children.
Mm-hmm.
They, you have fewer employees, more people wearing many, many hats. And it's not something that necessarily, we think about our marketing, we think about our sales, we think about our finance, but we don't think about protecting the organization's data.
Right. And
what that's
nobody wants
worth.
to spend the money on it either. It's like getting a new roof. How much fun is that, or a new septic system? It's not
exactly
anything exciting about it.
So tell me, what have been some of the surprises that have come your way while you've built this?
Some of the surprises?
Yes.
Okay. I would say my biggest surprise is how successful LinkedIn is working for me with the videos and the relationships that I'm creating with people, because I think they see me on there, and when we do finally wind up having a phone call, I feel like I'm talking to a friend, and they definitely feel like they're talking to a friend because they feel like they know me and they've seen me on there all the time talking about these little things, and some of them are funny, some of them are not funny, but that's been probably one of the biggest surprises is how that relationship has started.
That's fabulous.
Yeah,
and what are some of the challenges, though?
I think
I have a question for you. I'm going to actually step over my own question here.
Yeah.
In cybersecurity, identity protection, that's a man's world.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So what has been some of the how do I navigate this moments, and how has this either supported your growth, being the unique woman, or been a challenge for you?
Well, I think luckily because I grew up in the car business, which is it's all men in the car business. And so that kind of helps thicken my skin a little bit. But getting into the cybersecurity world, yes, it definitely is very male oriented. And again, that's why I was intimidated to make my videos, because I thought someone's going to look at me and they're going to say, this dumb lady is doing this. At one point, I hate to even admit this, but I will admit it now. At one point, I even thought maybe I should say that my father owns the company and that I'm working within the organization. And now I look back at that and I laugh. But I was really serious about that because I was so afraid that I wasn't going to be, I guess, respected in the community. And I think that's one of the reasons why I also took getting my certification so seriously, because I figured, well, at least if they go to my LinkedIn profile, they'll see, well, maybe she does know what she's talking about, kind of thing.
Yeah. So how important have those certifications been to you in this process?
Well, they're a wealth of knowledge. And, one of my certificates that we had to basically go through and take a company and put a whole cybersecurity risk mitigation plan together. And from the time that maybe you even think that there's a breach and walk all the way through the whole entire process. But I think the certifications, it's just a little bit of validity. And I even think it makes me feel a little bit more confident about how I'm going to be perceived by people.
So Dana, let's go personal a little bit. A mom of 7 kids, and you're building a business. You're on this every day. How in the world do you manage this all?
Well, so this is my second marriage, and I was when I started the insurance agency. That was when I got divorced from my first husband. I have my 3 daughters, and I was very happy that they saw how hard I had to work to start the insurance agency, because I had to get my insurance licenses in property casualty, life, accident, and health. And I hadn't studied in such a long time. This is back in 2013, 14, I think. And it was good for them to see. And, you know, when you're a kid and you're in that learning mode, like they are, they're used to learning and learning and learning. I had to go back to, you know, flashcards and writing everything down and, you know, just kind of an old school way of learning. But I thought it was really good that they got to see that, because they knew that I was dedicated to making this successful, and obviously partly because of them. And so then we fast forward, and I never in a million years ever thought I was going to get remarried. And I did. I found somebody. We actually knew each other when we were growing up a little bit. And he's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful man. And he has 4 kids, so hence the 7 now. He's very, very helpful. And I think that's, you know, we know we have a lot on our plate. And because he's so helpful, that we know we're in this, and, you know, okay, what do we do? What are you going to do? What am I going to do? And you know, sharing a lot of the responsibilities.
Nice. It's nice when it all comes together that way.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful surprise.
Yeah, it was a very big surprise. I definitely didn't think that was going to happen. And I think, unfortunately, you know, when you're stuck, as like a lot of us have been in an unhappy marriage, you don't really think that there's ever any possibility. I'm not, you know, being a big proponent of divorce or anything, but sometimes you're in there, and then whether you decide you want to end it or somebody else decides they want to end it, there's a little bit of, oh no, you know, what's going to happen now? And it's just good to know that positive things can come out of it. It's like a new chapter in your life and a new start. And it's nice to see when it does pan out nicely like this.
Nice. So what tips and advice do you have for our listeners today? If we can give them one action they can take that will protect themselves with their identities, or their identities of their business.
Okay, well, one thing I love to talk about, and people don't like to listen to me, and I know I sound like a broken record, but changing your passwords. And passwords need to have some complexity to them, and they need to have some length to them, because these hackers have these little tools that they turn it on and it goes through the dictionary, coming up with words and words and words and words. And some of the information that we share online on, say, Facebook, with some of the Facebook quizzes that people like to take, and they just dig and dig and dig, and they collect all this information about people. And if somebody can get into, let's say, for example, your Google account, if you look in there, if you look on the upper right-hand side of your Google account, there's a drop down. Google has everything, your password stored, everything. So if someone can just get into that account, they have access to a lot of different things. Maybe if you have your password saved for your banks, or, you know, for any other logins that you have, they can see them right there in plain text. So that would be my big takeaway would be, make sure we change our passwords, different passwords for different accounts. And again, the length of them and the complexity of them, meaning have some symbols, some uppercase, and not just, you know, your dog's name or your kid's name, something like that.
Fair. And how can our listeners find out more about you, the company you're building? Watch those videos for education. How can we follow you?
Okay, well, I'm on LinkedIn is definitely my first social media platform that I kind of learned. We're on Facebook too, a little bit. We're starting our YouTube channel, but we also, I guess the website would be the easiest place to go to, which is identityprotectionplanning.com. And if anybody wanted to take a look at the different plans that we offer to protect people, that is identron.com. And they can take a look there and see the plans, see if they're interested. But LinkedIn is definitely where I'm right now, and building on the other platforms. A year ago, I didn't even know how to get.
It's a good place to start. It's a good place to be. If you're going to do nothing, that would probably be my suggestion.
Yes, I agree.
If you're going to pick one, I'll rephrase that. If you're going to pick one, that would be my suggestion.
Yes.
And you were saying about a year ago, you couldn't even imagine yourself doing this?
Oh, I was going to say, when I first started this, I couldn't figure out, this is really going to make me sound pathetic, but I could not figure out how I took the video on my phone, how I was going to get it to LinkedIn. I could not figure that out, because you can't send a video if it's over, you know, a minute or minute and a half via text or via email. I thought, well, how am I going to get this? I need to get this on my desktop computer. So now I found this woman. She had just had a baby and she was looking for a little extra work. So she helped me with my editing and my subtitles. and the header and all that kind of stuff. So it's just really funny to think about how, where I look at myself where I was a year ago. And even some of these like Zoom conferences, I never did any of this stuff really. So, I'd be noticed, oh, let's have a Zoom conference. I was like, oh no, what am I going to do? I got to figure out how to hook this thing up and everything. So that was me.
It shows when we want to accomplish when something's important to us and we're ready to accomplish it, all the little things that would have held us back otherwise no longer hold us back. We figure out a way to work through it. And more power to you, Dana. You're building a business that is so vital and important in this day and age. And you're taking it from a really base education platform and educating all of us on how to protect ourselves. Listeners, if you do nothing, pop over to Dana's LinkedIn, pop over to her site, take a look at her videos, and take a look and learn a little bit on how to protect yourself and your businesses. That's the vital, important piece of today. So Dana, thanks for joining me. Looking forward to continuing to follow you and staying in touch. Remember, we're always all about building relationships. Thanks for joining us here today, Her Success Story. See you next time.
Thank you.
Don't need your approval anymore, 'cause I've got mine.